Welcome back to News Across Nigeria. One of the measures being suggested for the growth of the economy and the strengthening of the naira by the governor of Cross River State includes multinational companies getting paid in local currency. But before we let the cat totally out of the bag, we'd like to remind you that all our top stories can be found on our website. That's channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. We'd also like to encourage you to use the Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. As part of measures to strengthen the naira as well as to grow the local economy, Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State is advocating for payment of contractual fees and charges to multinational companies in local currency. Governor Ayade stated this when he received the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources upstream in his office in Calabar, the state capital. He also wants the federal government to use Nigeria's natural resources for foreign reserve. The senators are in Calabar on a 3-day workshop.
How can a country have an LNG exporting and making multi-billions of dollars and CBN is dollar-starved? I think that it is part of the local content for federal government to look at it as a deliberate policy to show up the value and strength of the naira by ensuring that all LNG sales, all shipment out of Nigeria must be paid to CBN. If CBN is not an international bank and therefore cannot receive for the core investors, it must be a critical issue of concern that only international banks that have branches in Nigeria that can receive the dollar inflow from our crude oil sales and indeed from our gas sales. That way will provide excess and accessible liquidity in dollar terms. Therefore, the search for dollar will be less and the value for the naira will go up. The other issue is the dollarization of our contracts in the oil and gas. It is only in Nigeria again that contracts are awarded in dollar and denominated in dollar. The international exchange rates is fast changing. A lot of people prefer to do business in their local currency. Must we always put the naira against the dollar? In most countries like UK, some of their foreign reserves come in form of gold. Why must our foreign reserve be in our dollar sales? Why can't we commoditize that dollar, bring it into the country, and look for our solid naira? We have a lot of gold, we have platinum, we have iron. Why can't we convert all of that into foreign reserve in material terms and bring the naira to show up the value, bring in the dollar to show up the value of the naira?
Food for thought. Mr. Ben Ayade, Governor, Cross River State. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mr. Audu Ogbe, is asking for increased funding for the nation's youth who are into the agro business. The minister, who made the call at a meeting with officials of the Bank of Industry in Abuja, also decried the high interest rate charged by commercial banks in the country over the last 3 decades. He says that the nation's youth must be supported in their bid to develop small and medium enterprises. On his part, the acting managing director of the Bank of Industry, Mr. Waheed Olagunju, promises to prioritize funding for the youth.
Coming to leadership, not necessarily. I would like to request of your bank to see what you can do to turn your attention and interest towards financing young people in business, agro-business, agro-processing, small and medium enterprise. We have been running a system in the commercial banking system where the doors are almost totally shut against beginners.
The bank has been adjusting its risk acceptance criteria, particularly when it comes to lending to our youths. Today, at the Bank of Industry, we can lend up to 10 million naira to our youths without relying on the conventional security arrangements. What we ask for will be guarantees of 2 Nigerians suitable Nigerians. If they're in the public service, they shouldn't be less than level 12. If it's in the private sector, the bank, for example, shouldn't be less than a stamp manager. Or a structured private company, telco or another company, could be a manager.
Staying in the north-central part of the country now, but to Nasarawa State, where the governor, Tanko Almakura of Nasarawa State, has visited some of the state ministries to identify their challenges. He believes the visit will help him interact with civil servants, especially as it concerns their overall well-being, to add value to the civil service in the state.
Members of the Executive Council in Nasarawa State with Governor Tanko Almakura visiting some ministries in a bid to identify their challenges.
As a way of sensitizing the service, as a way of also encouraging them to see government as compliant to service matters, I felt I should have a visit to each of the ministries to have some kind of interface or interactive session with the senior officials of the ministry.
He promises a better welfare package and more attention.
Expect continuity in our efforts to continue to pay their salaries. They should expect a kind of synergy between government and the civil service in such a manner that we'll be able to understand ourselves and regulate our activities in line with the resources at our disposal.
The civil servants appreciate the visit from the helmsman.
Honestly, we are very impressed seeing the governor coming to our ministry.
When you are working for somebody and the person comes around to see what you are doing, is something that is to be happy about. In fact, we are appreciative of his visit. Considering other states, there are many states out there who have not even collected their salary for about 4 months, some even up to 6 months. But here, our governor is up to date in terms of salary.
The ministries of local government, education, health, lands and survey, agriculture and water resources were visited by the governor and his team.
The Code of Conduct Tribunal sitting in Abuja has dismissed an application by counsel to the Senate President asking the tribunal's chairman, Danladi Umar, to disqualify himself from the case. During today's hearing into the case of alleged false declaration of assets brought against Dr. Bukola Saraki, one of his counsel, Mr. Raphael Oluyede, who was speaking or appearing for the second time at the tribunal, tried to introduce a motion which he said had been communicated to the tribunal yesterday. However, the prosecution counsel, Mr. Rotimi Jacobs, objected to the motion, which was subsequently dismissed by the tribunal chairman, Mr. Danladi Umar. During a rather rowdy session, the tribunal chairman ordered that the police escort Mr. Oluyede out of the place, but softened his stance after the prosecution counsel, Mr. Rotimi Jacobs, intervened. You're watching news across Nigeria. Stay with us. You want to hear about the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, who said there's no cause for alarm, or rather tried to tell the people not to panic over a case of Lassa fever at that hospital that left one person dead. Stay with us.